It's been quite the 3 days, hasn't it? I don't want to hear anyone ever talk about the moral authority or the quote unquote greatness of this country ever again. You see, on Sunday night, we had a mother on a stripper pole with her daughter nearby being taught by a Colombian softcore porn star what the value of a woman really is. This was Sunday night. This is what the vast majority of the country tuned in to watch. And then on Monday night, oh look, the sodomite won. We had the biggest election fiasco since I can't remember when, and proved that we have no authority to talk about free and fair elections or rigged elections in any other country at all. And then, to top it off, last night, we had a convicted drug dealer and a thug honored in the halls of power. So, putting those 3 days together, I would really like somebody to make the argument that we are this great place, that we are still this Christian nation. Because it's three completely different places. We have entertainment, we have politics, and now we have government, all displaying the exact same thing. A complete disregard for the rule of law, a complete disregard for the will of the people of this country, and a complete disregard for any basic moral standard at all. It's disgusting. Oh, but that's right, Nicolas Maduro, he's the evil one. The man that stands up for a constitution that says marriage is between a man and a woman. That parents have the right to secure a religious education, a right to secure a religious education for their children, if they choose to do so. Yep, he's the evil dictator. Almost, my goodness, what is it now? Almost 3 years ago, this channel started talking about how important Latin America was going to be, how it was going to change the face of the future. And look what's happened since. We have good old random guy named Juan, unelected. We have a confirmed former online porn star, Janine Áñez, who just effected a coup in Bolivia. We have a man named Martin Vizcarra that we've talked about in the past, tied to this group called the Shining Path, one of the most violent, vicious terrorist organizations in South America. We have Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, who only won because his cronies, his buddies, put the guy who would have won in prison. And then we have the situation in Honduras. We haven't talked about that at length, but I think you get the point. We've covered this so much, it's almost the Department of Redundancy department. And you saw on display last night the leader of this country fall down in adoration of this Obama clone. It should tell you everything you need to know, as does this article from the Miami Herald. They have this nailed. The most important thing you need to remember is that last night, while the president spoke and one side clapped and the other side was quiet, there was one time when they both clapped, when they both stood up. And that was when they acknowledged this guy. That should tell you everything you need to know. Venezuela made everybody clap. And for those of you out there talking about evil, terrible, horrible, socialism, blah, 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 when government's in charge of blah, 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 here's a great article from Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela cancel gas agreement over socialism? No. Did they think they wouldn't make any money because Venezuela was corrupt? No. Did they get out of the agreement because they didn't like the record of human rights of Venezuela? No. The reason TNT in Venezuela canceled the gas agreement was government, the United States government, intervening and interjecting itself into the free market. Kind of interesting, huh? These sanctions. They're going to develop the field. They're just going to do it independently. See, these sanctions are starting to take a bite on U.S. business now. And U.S. business is caught in between. Because they want to continue the lie, but they can't do it and be profitable at the same time. They want you to believe that, yeah, socialism is bad and terrible, but they also don't want you to believe that these sanctions are socialism. See, that's what happens when you have the Bank of England seize $1.3 billion worth of a country's gold for no good reason. And then say, oh, look at the failure of that country over there, that country the size of the state of Florida. We've seized billions and billions of their assets. But the reason they really failed was socialism, though. It's not because we seized all of Citgo's assets. It's not because we seized billions in U.S. bank accounts. It's not because we seized billions in gold and we threatened literally every country that ever wanted to do business with them at all. No, that wasn't any of the reason. That's not the reason that Venezuela failed. The reason is socialism, the big scary ghost monster that's out and ironically, it's socialism that they're using to defeat socialism. It's adorable. It really is. Because at this point, if you're too stupid to understand what's being said here, then there's nothing more I can really show you. See, people can say whatever they want to say, but when you can show the images, this should tell you all you need to know about who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And to be clear, I'm not speaking to the people of Texas. I'm not speaking to the people of Idaho or Missouri. The only thing I would say is that why there aren't more protests about this, why people aren't boycotting the NFL because of this, how you could have had a little baby girl, sweet little baby girl on stage in the same literally breath moment as what was going on here on the left and the right, should have made everybody vomit. I don't care who you are. We don't get to talk about free and fair elections. Not in Venezuela, not anywhere else. And the two things argue with them on their face. Dictators don't stand for elections. The only example of socialism that fails anyone ever brings up is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and that wasn't social democracy. See, nobody ever talks about Norway, Denmark, Finland, basically all of Eastern Europe, wealthy, safe countries. They only talk about the USSR, run by oligarchs, ironically, which is what we have right now. Oligarchs in D.C. that award medals of freedom to drug dealers. Anybody else would still be in prison if they had done what this guy did. And for those of you that don't know the story, Mr. Limbaugh, some years ago, got himself addicted to oxycodone and had his maids and had other people bringing it to him using all sorts of code words and false and fake names and having prescriptions written and all this kind of stuff. The same basic modus operandi that most drug addicts go through. But he gets the Medal of Freedom. And honestly, if I have to talk more about Juan Guaido, I think I literally might get sicker. I mean, the guy is the living, walking embodiment of failure. I mean, the guy is just pathetic. And how you could see this leader, this guy ensconced on his throne in D.C., say what he said last night should tell you all you need to know. And look at the evidence. Venezuela, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, Honduras. It's coming. You mark my words, it's coming. Does this guy look like a leader of men? Does this guy really look like a leader of men? Somebody that engenders hope and optimism and faith. I mean, and you can find the evidence everywhere of the hypocrisy. So, I won't say more because I know everybody gets all upset when I talk about this kind of stuff, so I'll just leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.